Hey, it's Sandy with Quilted Treasures and more. I hope you've had a good week. And I hope you've had a good weekend. I am trying to check and make sure that everything is up and going. And it looks like it is. Now, do we have audio? I think we do. Yes, we do. Wonderful. All right, now I can go back to my other screen here and look at my example picture of what I am doing tonight. Now, this is a little different. Most of the time you see me do door hangers, and I've done some easel art, which is 14 inches, and I've done some of the Broken Pieces collection where I use shattered glass and resin. And of course, I paint those first. Again, those are about 14, 15 inches. I've also done bedroom door hangers, which are 17 inches. And so you've seen me do a lot of things, but this is a journal, an empty, just a blank journal. And what I'm going to do this evening or tonight is paint the cover of the journal. So something a little different. I'm going to try this out and see how this works. I've seen others paint journals and also Bibles. There are some Bibles that can actually be painted. And so I've seen others do it. So I am going to give this a try. Now, what I'm going to start with, I am going to start with a little bit of white. And I'm just going to go around the cross with a little bit of white. And I am just going to, you may be thinking, oh my goodness, you're painting on the journal. I am painting around the journal. So or painting around the cross on the journal, but I'm just painting directly on the cover. Now, the journal itself is actually a light green, and I'm not opposed to the light green. It's actually probably going to shine through a little bit on this white, but I wanted to lighten around the cross just a little bit. Because what I want to do is bring in a little bit of color around the cross. So I've painted on canvases, I've painted on wood, I've painted on acrylic. I've painted everything from Christmas ornaments to easel art to door hangers to yard art, which is big. big sizes. All right, now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to get just a little bit of Bahama blue, and I am going to put just a little bit of blue. Just get a little bit of water on my brush, tap in my blue, and where my white is, just going to kind of mix them a little bit. Now I can always come back with the white and lighten up. So the blue's a little watery is what it amounted to. I didn't really wipe the brush off really well, and I'm just kind of doing a figure 8 motion. In case you're wondering what I'm doing with my brush, because my hand's kind of moving like this. So now I'm going to come back and get the white, and some of these areas where I got just a little too much blue, I'm just going to add a little white back in. Now, if you're wondering how I got the cross on the onto the journal, what I did was I used what they call carbon paper. Well, it's called, now I'm drawing a blank. It's transfer paper. Growing up, I always used to hear carbon paper. It's got another name too. For the life of me, it escapes me for the moment. And you could put anything on journals. That's what's pretty cool. It doesn't have to be like this one I want to use for Bible study notes. So that's why I'm working on a cross on this one. But it could be anything. You could put if you have notes for a particular book that you're working on. You could do a journal for those notes. Now I'm just going to do this color on the corners. I did go across the top up there, but I think what I'm going to do is just kind of do on the corners down here. Maybe just a slight bit across the bottom. Now I can come in with a touch of yellow. Let's see. Actually, I think yellow was what I had planned on using in the beginning. And I ended up grabbing my orange. So I think yellow was what I was going to go with. So let me add in just a touch of yellow. Let's see what we got here. All right, I'm going to let that dry just a little bit. I'm going to come back and I think I'm going to lighten that up just a fuzz with some white and kind of soften that a little bit. Because to me, I like the colors, but they're just a little, I don't know, they're just a little too bold for me right at the moment, I think. I really wanted something really soft in the background. So I'm going to let that dry for just a moment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to the cross, which I am going to do in a I'm going to do in a honey brown. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back after it dries real well and probably add some lines to make it look like it's a wooden cross. So we're going to start with the honey brown. And if you're wondering what is on the cross, it's actually cotton. And I started to do flowers, but I saw this and I was like, oh, I like the cotton. I know that's not exactly, most of the time you think of that uh, sort of toward the fall season, but I do know I do know some folks who celebrate, oh goodness, decorate with cotton year round, even though it technically is a fall crop. But I do know some folks who decorate with it year round. May have to get a smaller brush here. Yeah, let's move to a smaller brush so that way I'm not fighting with that so much. Let's see. Here we go. I don't want to cover up everything, all my trace lines. And I'll be outlining this either with black or with a darker brown. So all my little not exactly in the line moments will be covered up. To me, sometimes it's I guess I see it as a challenge to paint on something different, but also gives me an opportunity to kind of test the waters to see if there's something else that I might like to add into the things that I currently have in my online shop. So, for instance, I've been looking at cards, cards that you give for various occasions. And so I have been looking at, matter of fact, I am getting ready here in the next few weeks to take part in a watercolor workshop. And in the watercolor workshop, I will be learning some different things about watercolors. I use watercolors in my online kids art club, and I have a lot of fun with the watercolors in there, doing the stuff that we do each month, the different themes and things. And I like the way the watercolors look when you're, working with them on a canvas or even when you're working just like on a sketch pad. I like the way the watercolors look. I like the way they blend. And so when I found this workshop, I was like, ooh. So I basically use acrylics for everything that I do: door hangers, yard art, some of the earrings that I've done in the past, easel art, everything is acrylic paint. And the watercolors have always been uh, the kids' art class. So I've enjoyed keeping the two separate, but there's a look to the watercolors, especially on paper, that I find very interesting. And so I was looking at some watercolor cards that had been painted. And I'm like, that might be kind of a neat thing to do. So I'm going to try my hand at watercolors for a workshop here in a couple of weeks. And we will see what comes of that. We will see how that works out. So still not sure about the outside here. I don't know. Sometimes when you're in your creative moment, you get something in your mind's eye, in your imagination, and you think, oh yeah, I think this will turn out really good. And then you start and you're kind of like, I don't know. Maybe that's not as maybe that's not as it's not coming out the way I pictured it. Let's put it that way. The blue, I think, turned out pretty good. I kind of like the blue, but the yellow and the orange, to me, it's just too bold. I'm not liking how it's standing out. That's not what I was going for. I was going for something softer. So let's see if we can tone it down with a little bit of white. See if that brings it more along the lines of what I'm looking for. Maybe. I want the cross to be the thing that stands out. I want the background to just be a nice fade of color behind it, just a little bit. And this may be an instance where the watercolor would have been the perfect thing to work with because it would have come out lighter. And I can always add water to my paint and come back and see if that's what it needed. All right, now I'm just going to add a layer of white and see how it turns out. And again, this is a journal I bought just to do some Bible journaling with. So that's a little more of the look I was going for. Just a softer ray of color kind of around it. Not really getting the white that I wanted around the cross, but we're working on it. We're working on it. Let's go back to the brown. I guess I put it up, didn't I? The honey brown is what I had. Let's go back and add some brown in here and get our cross darkened up some. Get a second coat. And then once I add a second coat on here, I'm going to start on the cotton and let the cross dry really well. So like I said, I've watched some people uh, do journals and even Bible covers. And I've watched them paint flowers and um, vines and all kinds of stuff on the journals. And I might do one with flowers and lots of greenery. Before it's all said and done, there may be flowers and or greenery on this one. Who knows? It's one of those things. You may start with one idea, and before it's over with, you've added a ton of different things that you really weren't expecting when you started out. Now for the cotton, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with white and get all my little cotton balls here painted white. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to add in just a little bit of buttermilk to the bottom part. Just to give it that little bit of discoloration toward the bottom as it gets to, I guess it would be the pod itself, where the pod has opened and the cotton has come out. I mean, I would assume it's like most of the, oh, I had part of the cross I didn't even realize. Now that I'm painting the cotton, I'm like, oh, that's not cotton, that's part of the cross. I'll have to come back and touch up some of the cross in between the cotton. A little bit here. All right, now before I forget, let's touch up these small little areas where the cross shines in between the cotton here. So that is all brown, and that's a part of the, here we go, here's the other part. Here's the other part I missed. It's there, and then, oh, it actually comes there and there. Okay. Well, I've got a few little areas. While I've got brown, I will just touch up real quick. Go ahead and take care of that. Okay. Now then, I've got the white on the cotton blooms, except for this one little one here. I missed you somehow in the mix of everything else. and here. Okay. Now then, from here, what I need to do is I'm going to use a darker brown for the pod parts. And I've got to let the white dry a little bit before I add any more color to it. I'll take just a touch of chocolate. I probably could have used Mississippi mud. That probably would have been a good color to use. But it's okay. We'll just mix up a little sable and a little dark chocolate. And we'll just create a brown for it. Hey, even if you're whether you're live with me or whether you're watching the replay, jot down in the comments, just send me a little comment, say hi, where you're watching from. If you watch the replay, you can put hashtag replay and simply say hi. All right, still, I guess I'm kind of spoiled in the wood department because wood doesn't take quite as long to dry. I think that lightened it up about the way I want it. I'm still missing something there, though. I'm not really sure what, but I'm still missing something. We'll get there. We will get there. We shall, we shall, we shall. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start playing with my leaves. Or not the leaves. They're not leaves in cotton. I called it the pod. To be honest with you, I am really not sure what you would call. I guess I'll have to look that up. I've got some other things I've got to research. I guess I'll look that up too. And actually, you know what? I covered up part of, not real sure how I did that. Covered up part of the pod with the sable brown. So if you missed the beginning, I am painting a journal. I've watched some others paint journals and I thought, you know what, that's just kind of cool. Watching them and seeing how they changed up just a plain journal that you get from your local store or offline. And how they maybe marked it so that way they knew of a particular Bible study they were doing or a particular project they were working on. So I decided I would try it myself. Give it a try and see how it went. Now, some of this pod is not going to show up until I actually start adding the detail or the outlines to it. I actually forgot one here. How did I manage not to trace that one in there? I don't know, but we will add him back in. All right, is that all of my... I'll have to go over them again because they're going to need another coat for sure. But I think that's all of them. The cross is drying nicely. The background has dried. The cotton, I'm going to do one more quick coat on it. And then I think what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to kind of see if I can do a kind of dry brush look to the bottom part of it. I thought about doing a shading or blending, but I don't know. I think I'd rather do kind of the dry brush look. All right, so we're going to let that sit for just a moment and let that dry. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to find one other brush. Let's see. I'm going to need a really small brush for this. So let's see what I can come up with. There's a small brush, maybe one. Do I own one smaller than this? Oh, yes, grand ideas. And then you're like, do I have the tools I need to do this? So many different size brushes. Let's see, that one is very, very tiny. I think that one's probably going to do. And that's another thing. Never, not having done anything extremely small like this. I mean, I've done ornaments. Don't get me wrong. I've done ornaments. And yes, they can be small. But when I did the design on the ornament, a lot of times I'd make sure that the ornament was a pretty decent sized design so that way when I got to the smaller details, it's not like I was taking a toothpick and working with it, because that can get really difficult. All right, so I'm going to get just a little bit of buttermilk. I mean, like a drop of buttermilk. That is, if I don't have buttermilk dried paint flakes in every other color in my palette here. So I'm just going to get a drop of buttermilk. And what I'm going to do is I am basically going to just kind of discolor the bottom half next to, again, I'm calling it a pod. Didn't really think about. You might want to know the technical name of this. So all I'm going to do is just kind of brush a little bit on, and I probably still have a little too much, because all I want to do is discolor it just a little bit toward the bottom. Bring it a little closer so you can see. Right here toward the pod, just discolor it a little bit to make it look like it has a little, like a little dirt. A little dirt on it. Let's see. I think this would be a good job for my dryer. Haven't used my dryer in a few weeks, and it is currently buried under a bunch of stuff. So let's see what we can do here. Get my dryer plugged in. That's how long it's been since I've used it. I've been doing other stuff, door hangers and different things. A lot of times they dry pretty quick, or I move to something else. It would help if I could see the plug. Ah, there we go. All right. See if we can speed up this process a little bit. Like I said, I'm used to ooh, poor thing's dusty. Smell it. Getting the dust off of the inside. I'm used to my wood, and sometimes it takes a little bit, but most of the time I'll move on to something else and come back to it, and it'll be pretty dry. But this being smaller in size, kind of need to help it a little bit. So let's just give it a little helping hand and come back. Add just a slight bit of discoloring around the bottom. And I could have used my, I don't know that I have a stencil brush that small. I've been using a stencil brush for some of the dry brush technique, and it works out really, really well. I like the way it looks, but I don't think I have one that's quite this small. So we're just gonna go with this one. And discolor just a little bit. I'll hold it up so you can see. So you can see just around the ends here, just a little bit of discoloration. Not going to do a whole lot of that, just a little bit. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go over the cross one more time because it looks like it needs a third coat. Some colors, I've talked about this in the past, you can get away with 2 coats, and then some colors you need to put 3. I have had a few colors where I've had to do 4. What did I do the other day that had to have 4? Oh, I know what it was. It was a bright green that I was using. I was beginning to wonder if I would ever get that green. To smooth out and look solid in its shading. A little bit more honey brown. Goodness, I really didn't think I was going to need this much honey brown. I keep putting just a drop and a drop and a drop because I don't like to waste my paints. But I didn't plan on it taking this many coats of the honey brown. I don't recall in the past having to use more than 2 coats on the honey brown, but again, I'm not painting on wood either or a canvas. It's a little bit different on this hardback journal. So I am learning something new tonight. All right, so we'll dry this just a little bit, and I'll probably go back and do another coat on the base of the cotton itself, and then we'll start doing some outlining and see where we go from there. All right. I'm going to get my little round brush again and just come back into this mixture I created of the sable brown and a little bit of dark chocolate. And just start going back over the areas that I had covered earlier, which are the base of the cotton. Like I said, I've been calling it the cotton pod. I don't know its technical name. You'd think I would remember it after having several field trips over the years uh, to the corn mazes in the fall because they talk about all the different crops that they grow throughout the year. And of course, corn is the main one in order to get the maize, but they also, a lot of them have multiple crops that they produce throughout the year because they're not just a maize during the fall. They're a lot of them are working farms that, you know, have other crops that they deal with throughout the year in order to um, pay their bills and keep the maize part alive. Okay, let's start doing some outlining, and I am going to do this with um, probably a little bit smaller round brush. If you can see that one, that was just a little bit smaller than the one I've been using. And I had said I might use dark brown, but I think I am just going to go for black and go around everything. So I'm going to start with my cross. And I'm just going to trace around the outer part of it. And like I said, you could do this on journals for anything. If you have a journal for school, for a particular subject. Maybe you've got a journal you keep for a particular hobby. Or maybe you've got a book that you like to keep recipes in. I've got some super cute uh, kitchen templates that would be really cool on a recipe book. All right, I'm gonna flip this around because if I don't, I'm gonna stick my hand in all that paint, and then I'm gonna be doing an awful lot of repair work. And I don't normally go up. I usually like to come down. I did go up on that one, but that's not the norm. I try to keep everything coming toward me so that way I don't run the risk of my brush, uh, the bristles kind of flicking, because if that happens, then I'm going to end up with paint everywhere. All over my project. possibly all over my room, all over the walls. That would be. Now, granted, it's acrylic. It's acrylic. It, it cleans up with warm soapy water, so it's not like it would be the end of the world, but still, you'd have to clean it up. All right, so now you can see the outline of the cross as things start to take shape. Now, I have got one other brush. Here you are. Like, I've got one other brush here. Get the bristles a little wet, see if I can get them to stick together a little better. This is one I may have to do a little repair work on. I'm going to grab him and let him be the one that I work on the outline of my cotton here, because he is ever so small, and I feel like he will do the best job in outlining my cotton. I talked about using a toothpick a while ago. This is probably roughly a toothpick size brush. So it is small. But I like it for doing the smallest of black lines. Because it's smaller than even some of the paint pens that I have. Ooh, I missed one over here. All right, now I'm going to turn it around this way, and I'm going to get this outlined from this direction. All right, so there is the cross and the cotton. Now, I still have some little marks that I want to do in the cotton, but I may be doing those with maybe more like a light brown color rather than trying to do them with the black. I don't know. Just depends. Let's see how this goes after I get through outlining my. I keep wanting to say leaves. They're not leaves. I'm so used to doing leaves with flowers. So the brush takes a little more time than what it does uh, with the paint pens. But there are times when I like the look of the brush more than the paint pen. I like the way the brush will vary when you're using it. And the paint pen doesn't do that. And I've shared before how sometimes I like the quickness of the paint pen, and sometimes I like just that uniform uh, line that it gives. But then there are times when the way I do like the way that the brush looks. And the way the lines will vary when using a brush. I actually need to go back and see if I can fix that, because I actually painted part of my cotton when I painted that. I'm not sure if I can get that fixed or not. That actually was supposed to come. You know what? It's okay. We're going to do this. We're going to put like the cotton just comes over the top of the base of the other one. There we go. Ta-da! Nobody knows any different, right? Right. All right. Now for my lines, my detail lines on my cotton, and these are just little details. I am going to use I'm just going to use some dark chocolate. I'm not going to use black because I feel like it's so close that I'd really rather have a little bit different color just to give my highlights. So I'm just adding a little bit of detail into the cotton. Just a few little highlights here and there. And then, of course, with the leaves, I'll just use leaves. Here I go again. Y'all. I guess I have painted a lot of flowers, maybe. More than I realized, I guess. I don't know. Everything is coming out leaves. These aren't leaves, they're the base. The base of the cotton. Now then. Oh, but I haven't done my... I was going to do my outlines on my cross, but I haven't done the wood. The wood that I want to do. Do I want to try that right now, or do I want to just hold off and make sure? Oh, let's go for it. Oh my goodness. I need a little bit stiffer brush though. I don't want to use... I wonder if I could get away with just part of a fan brush. Let us see, let us see. But I do need my dark chocolate again. And I'm going to need the lid to this. Hopefully I won't need too much. Let's see. All right, let's see how this is going to do. Hopefully I won't go outside of my cross. I may have to come back with... I'm going to try to finish it out with this, but I think I'm going to need to come back with my smaller brush like I was getting ready to do. This works really well on a Santa beard, but it's not doing as well with not doing as well. And it's okay. Sometimes you have to change your technique, and I have multiple steps that I do with the Santa beard. One involves the fan brush, and then you come back with the very thin liner brush, and you add in details. So all I'm doing is just coming in with the liner brush and beginning the process of adding some of a wood look to the cross, a green look. And you may be thinking, well, some of those lines are kind of turning out thick. They are, but it's okay because I'm going to turn around and go over it with some of the honey brown again. And I may even add in a little bit of gray. And if I go over it with the gray and the honey brown again, you'll see less and less of those bold areas. And this is the process that I use with the Santa Claus. But as I said, with Santa's beard and his eyebrows. But like I said, I also I use the fan brush, and so it it covers a lot more ground. But it's hard on this journal to use the fan brush. I need a very small fan brush. So now I'm just going to come back with the honey brown, and all I'm going to do is just kind of go over some of this, especially some of the areas where I feel like maybe it's a little too bold with the darker color. And then I'll come back with maybe a little bit of gray, not very much. I don't want it to look highly weathered. I just want it to look like it's starting to get a little age. And by going over some of this with the honey brown, it also varies the shade. And so it's not, it ends up kind of being 3 shades rather than just 2. And then, like I said, I'm just going to add in a very slight amount of gray. So I'm going to find my really light gray here. This is not my really, here it is. Like I've got one more that's lighter. Went the other day to get some more of this gray because it's called sky gray. And I could not find any in the store I was in. So I'm like, oh man, this is one of my favorite grays because it's not dark gray, and it works really well, especially with the weathered look. And that may be all that I do with that. Sometimes I have to come back to it the next day and look at it and see what I think. All right, now, I have an idea. I have an idea. Oh, and some of you are thinking, oh my goodness, what in the world? Yes, sometimes those ideas can be a bit much, but sometimes they can turn out to be very interesting. Let's see here. Let's do a little holly green. So I just got a little dark Hauser green and a little bit of holly green, and what I'm thinking is that I'm going to do a little bit of ivy. Maybe just coming down the side, maybe. I don't know. Let's see what we get here. So I'm just going to start with my vine. And I may only do this down one side. We'll see. And I'm just going to darken it up a little bit. Maybe thicken it up just a little. Somebody's going to jump in at some point in this and they're going to look at this and go, is she doing a green snake? No, we're working on a vine. I could just see somebody doing that. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I am just going to make some leaves coming off my vine. Down here there'll be itty bitty leaves, so we may just start with a few round leaves down here. And then the leaves start to get just a little bit bigger. Coming off of our vine. I don't like that one because it's got a little stem. I was going to put a few on like a little extension, but I don't like that look. I really want the look that I'm going for is really more of something like that. Let's see if I can copy it on this side. Now let's fill it in because that's what I really want. That sort of leaf shape. But I guess I'm going to have to really There we go. I was like, I don't know why this is not coming out the way I'm wanting it to. But I guess it's one of those deals where I'm going to have to think about it just a little bit to make my hand do what my brain is thinking. And they don't have to all be the exact same. As it gets further down the line, they're going to change because they're just starting to grow. The ones at the very end, of course, will be tiny and round, and so they're not quite to this point yet. So we've got a few little odd shaped ones, and maybe a few that kind of go off the page or the edge of the journal because the vine goes around. And maybe a few go behind the cross. That works. And hey, what do you know? It cleans up my little outline boo-boo I did. Hey, kill two birds with one stone. Now, I can either drag this off the top of the journal up there, or I can carry it on around. I think that gives it a very interesting look. I could carry it on around. I could actually do a few little flowers on this particular side. And with that thought in mind, and I said I wasn't going to do flowers, didn't I? I said I wasn't going to do it. I just wasn't. I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and finish out the greenery, and then we'll look at that flower possibility. I may just actually come in with some very small little flowers in between a few of the leaves and not do anything too bold. Oh, I stuck my hand in green paint. That's there we go. There's my leaf shape. I don't know why I am not getting this leaf shape tonight for some reason. We are struggling, and I don't know why we're struggling so badly with this one. This is usually one that I like doing, and usually it comes pretty easy. This is going to be a long leaf. That's okay. They come in all shapes and sizes. Hmm. I'm trying to do this one upside down. I think that's my biggest problem is I'm trying to do it upside down and it's not coming out. It's not coming out right. We're going to say that was tucked behind the branch there, or behind the vine. Okay, so now we've got a vine that comes over and around, so that's looking interesting. Still not sure about the flowers. I may just leave it just like this. So I may get up in the morning and change my mind and add just some little small flowers to it. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. I do like the fact that the background has lightened up and that my other colors are beginning to come off the page or off the cover of the journal. And so I'm going to let this set overnight. And in the morning, I will get up and I will see what other details I might add to it. I may not. That may be the extent of it. I may bring the vine over just a little bit more, or I may have just some little flowers pop up along the vine, and they'll be just little tiny flowers. We shall see. But this was the first. Like I said, it's just a blank journal, and I'm going to use it for some Bible journaling. And so I wanted to do the cover. It was just plain. So I wanted to do the cover to kind of help me remember, hey, this is a Bible journal, and I may put the book on the back. So I may go in, and the book that I'm currently in, I may actually put it across the back, or I may paint it down the spine. So that way later on I can pull back and go, oh yeah, this was the one I did for that particular book. And so pull it out and I can check back over notes and different comments and points and all that good stuff that I made. So, well, like I said, it's definitely something I've been wanting to try. I've seen a few people do it, and so it was definitely interesting tonight. Definitely different, and with each new item or piece that you do, no matter whether it's wood or acrylic, there are some things that you have to learn about each one of them. So same is true with a hardcover. Drying time takes a little bit longer. I can still see some of the green is still wet, so I'm going to let that dry well overnight. I will be adding some details to that as well, but I want to see if I get up in the morning and still want to add a few little flowers to it. So we'll find out. I hope y'all have a great week. Thanks so much for watching. Again, if you're watching the replay, put #replay and tell me hello and where you're watching from. And I will see you next week. And who knows what I'll be painting. Probably we'll be back to door hangers. I don't think I'll be doing another journal. I don't have another one scheduled. So I had purchased this one, and like I said, it was just plain. So I wanted to try my hand at it, but we will see what we will be doing next week as far as door hangers go. We've got Easter coming up, and also spring, right around the corner. So I have several things in the works, and I have been working on several orders. Of course, Mardi Gras and Valentine's pretty much all out the door, and no more of those for this year. But we are now working on springtime, and even just some generic things. So, of course, baseball season's coming up. I've been posting a few of the baseball ones that I have. Those are always a lot of fun to do. I get to do some shading that makes it look like the bases have dirt on them. So I've always had fun with those and enjoyed doing those. Well, y'all have a great week. Again, thanks so much for watching.